Okay, I just saw you playing out there, and you look real good. Who are you?
Well, you know, I'm Mrs. Gankisa. I'm the best footballer point ever see.
Oh, really? You, you know any of the older players who play here in Point?
Well, I know Warren Archibald, Leroy Dillion.
Stop. You know me?
Hmm?
Boy, I was the best striker, the best forward that this country ever seen.
Oh, Wilfred K.
Boy, I'm Steve David, boy. Welcome, viewers, to another edition of Field of Dreams on Axe Television Network. I'm Steve David, your host, and today with me, I've got two special guests who I am honored to have on this show today. Two people from Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, and I would like to introduce them to you. To my right, I have Raymond Timke, the president of Trinidad and Tobago Football, and Raymond, you and I have gone a long
way back.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm so honored to have you on the show. Welcome.
I feel honored to be here.
Good. And also to my left, I've got Sheldon Phillip. And Sheldon, I know you, the son of Lincoln Phillips, and I think you were born here, or you born in the
I was
States?
born here, and moved when I was 6.
Right? And now you're the secretary.
Correct.
Trinidad Football Association. So, our discussion today is really on football because that's all we talk on this station. And I would like you guys to feel free and relax and have open discussion on any topic. We're gonna do this like a barbershop discussion. We're gonna just sit down and talk and be free to say what we have to say. I need Trinidad and Tobago to know that you guys are not as bad as the press that I'm hearing, and that's why I have you guys here today. And there is so much that's said, unjust comments have made about you guys, Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, which you guys represent, and it's like a target. And I know you guys. Why would you take a job that it looks like they're just shooting at you? It's better you go and be a target in some range or something. So what would you say to the public that you think is unjust, or why would you take this job? That's my first comment. Why would you guys take a job like this when you could have gone and do something else?
Well, I mean, we know in Trinidad, sport plays an integral part in our growing up years. From a very tender age of what we used to call private school in those days, now preschool, into primary school and secondary school. We play sport throughout our lives, in the backyard, in the living room, in the gallery. We call it porch now, but those are the places we used to find. Any place where there was room, we'll play some sport. And inevitably what happens is that some sport seem to fit your DNA. You have a kind of love for that sport. And therefore, as you go through your preteens years and your teenage years, and even when you get over 2021, you find that love and that passion never diminishes. In fact, it heightens as you go older and you understand the game more. Therefore, there's a lot more confidence and comfort in the way you do things, and and it's a whole hype. You know, football is a sport that really impacts your spirit. And that's why you see there are certain countries in the world where people commit suicide when the team loses. And you heard of all sorts of things. That's passion. And football provokes that passion. So having served football in administration, in fact, when I came into football, I was invited because I was a benefactor of football in my very early years as a young businessman. I was one of those who would purchase tickets for our players who were on the outside to come home to play games. And after a few years of that sort of benevolence, our previous special advisor, Mr. Warren, at that time he was the general secretary, invited me to get involved in football because he realized that I was taking nothing but whereas I was giving, which is really a sort of rare thing in Trinidad. Everybody wants to get, nobody wants to give. And so he invited me, and of course I came in and I continued to serve, not only financially, but you know, it's important that you have meetings and you kick things around and you have brainstorming sessions, and all with a view of getting to that place where it's the best that you could be. So over the years, that is what has happened, and as I get more entrenched into the administration and understand the administration more, there was a greater desire to do more because you saw what the potential held for good management, good governance, and getting Trinidad and Tobago all hyped and get involved. And guys like you, I remember the days with you. I mean, any kid looking at you would want to say, I want to be like this guy. Because you must have been an athlete, quite apart from being a footballer. Because you made some strides. When he pushes a ball, nobody could turn back and get a ball. Steve will just go. And he used to float in the air, you know. And those are things that excite youths, and those who played would say, I don't want to be like him. So when you observe that sort of impact on so many of our people, and if you are seriously thinking of enhancing and doing things for the game, you put yourself in a position where you could do something.
You had the love and the passion for the game.
Period.
And it is not what my country can do for me, it's what I can do for my country.
Precisely.
So I think that's why you probably in this as much as you are.
But that's right, and you know, contrary to what a lot of people think, people seem to be saying things that, you know, in fact, when I tell people, the president doesn't work for a cent. He gets no pay, he gets no stipend, he gets nothing. He could get a cup of coffee. At this stage, getting a cup of coffee, even in the association, could be a challenge because sometimes we are pressured for funds. But that's what it is. And you keep focus. If you didn't keep focus on your purpose, you'll easily drop out.
Sheldon, you was very comfortable in the United States, I'm sure, earning a nice living and everything. And you chose that as well. Man, why?
You know, of several reasons. One, as I mentioned, you know, I was born in Trinidad, in Belmont, and even though I left at an early age, the umbilical cord had never been cut.
Right.
It was, you know, Trinidad and Tobago was always part of our growing up. You know, obviously having a father, you know, Lincoln Phillips, the Trinidad and Tobago as a country was always part of. Of our upbringing, and football was always part of our upbringing. So I was born into the game in many ways. So we grew up with the stories. We grew up following the game. And then, of course, when he came to serve as technical director, I was involved and helped out in certain aspects, certain projects. But there's a love of the game, love of country, and love of a challenge.
Right.
And when the bottom sort of fell out in 2011, and the country, the football itself was in dire straits, and Mr. Timke decided to run for president in 2012, the opportunity was offered to come down and help, and it was that love of those three factors that really propelled me to go ahead and give it a shot. And nothing worthwhile is without a challenge. So I think, you know, as was just mentioned, we have certain goals and missions, and once we stick to those goals, no matter what is thrown at you, you just keep focused, keep your eyes on the prize, and I can say in the short space of time that we've been involved, we've been actually able to do quite a bit.
Let's talk about some of those things, because the country needs to know all these good things you guys doing. Come on, tell them. Let us talk about some of the things that you do.
Okay. The first thing is, I mean, we had a common objective, like Sheldon, the General Secretary, who is more or less the administrator of the operation. And of course, I would go more in the direction of directions,
right,
for the organization. Well, I couldn't say that I was unaware of some of the outcomes after this 2010-2011 situation with Trinidad. But you know what? I could not have conceived in my mind that it was that deep and that murky,
right,
and that uncomfortable. Because here you go into a situation where football is a product. It's a product, it's an entertainment.
right.
What are these things you need to sell a product? You need the product itself, which has to be good. It must have stood the test of time, and it has some integrity that people will want to share in it. It must have finance, of course. It must be financed. It must have brand recognition and admiration. It calls for confidence and respect for the brand. And I've come into an environment where those things have been destroyed. Bear in mind, as a trainer and leader of people in marketing and sales, I understand what it is to deculturize in a situation where you don't want to go. So here we have a situation of people in an industry which is football who are lost. They are lost because government had pulled off financing it. Corporate Trinidad had pulled out from financing it. The man in the street had pulled back his support. And I, in my sane mind, decided to walk into that situation. And I am saying that I'm going to change that. We are talking of a situation where the psyche of 1 million people, because not everybody in football, but I'd say 1 million people, have started to look at football in a certain way, which is, I could say, a negative way. So I go into the office, no money, no friends, no respect.
Accumulating more enemies, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
And you know what was disappointing? I went in that situation. I allowed the world to know where we were, because quite apart from what I told you, there was a debt of $36 million, 129 creditors. So it means 129 people we owed. Total amount of 36 million TT dollars. Okay? And you say, well, what is this?
right.
So I got in there with Mr. Philip and we started to do some work. But as the starting gun went off, people started to look at everything we did and criticize everything we did with no suggestion, no recommendation, but all we got was criticism.
But you inherited that.
Well, you see, yes. Well, I thought that would have been part of the package.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that the extent of that kind of animosity
Right.
and anger, and completely unwarranted and undeserving
Right.
as an individual. But we went in there and we had to make some hard decisions. We had to rebrand, and that's the first thing we did. We rebranded
From TTFA.
from TTFA to TTFA.
Right.
Then we went and we changed the logo, which was something visual.
That's good. That was a good change too.
Right.
Yes.
And we started singing a different song. We started singing a different song about taking football forward, taking football forward. And then we went into the structure and saw that we had to change the structure, but that could only be effected through a constitution. So what we did, I went to FIFA, I had conversations at FIFA, and FIFA was about to introduce what is called a normalization committee. A normalization committee is when FIFA comes in with their expertise and their selected few. They would have closed down football in Trinidad, as it were.
Right.
And coming with their people, or their selected few people, to start putting the infrastructure in place for football. And when I was told that, I said, no, I do not agree with that. And they asked why, and I said, because I thought Trinidad has enough talent and expertise and knowledge about football that we don't need anybody from the outside to come in here and tell us how to do it. And the Twitter channel said, well, what would you propose in its stead? And I said, well, we could put something called a reform commission. And that reform commission will consist of 6 or 7 members, all of whom are icons in this country, all of whom are professional people, people who have won and commanded respect from the national community.
And we have that now.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what people doesn't know. People don't know what you guys are doing.
All right. So hear this.
Yeah.
I could call the names.
Okay.
Derek Murray was the first choice, and he was selected because he was the head of Transparency International. Transparency is vital because it's lack of transparency that caused the problem.
Right.
So he was the chairman of that for the Caribbean, and he accepted the invitation to be chairman. 2 weeks after that, he asked if we would to withdraw because he got added responsibility for the Caribbean region. And he said he would not be able to give the sort of effort that he would have liked. So therefore, we went looking for another chairman. We were able to get a gentleman by the name of Raul John, who is the managing director of KPMG for the Caribbean. KPMG is an international auditing firm. He accepted the chairmanship, and I invited Senior Counsel Elton Prescott, Senior Counsel and Independent Senator, to join us. He accepted the invitation graciously. I invited Dr. Sheila Rambazad, who everybody knows. She writes columns, and she was at UE and so on. She doesn't play football, but at least she understands people, and she's very objective and very independent in thinking. So, and I was a woman too, and we wanted to have that sort of inclusion balance. I invited Mr. Brian Lewis, who is the president of the Olympic Committee in Trinidad. He was lecturing in sports management in sports management at the business school at UE. I invited Shaka Hislop because we all know Shaka is a gentleman, and he's well positioned to represent football in such a scenario. And so football should have a voice.
Right.
I invited Patrick Raymond. Patrick Raymond, I don't know if you know Patrick Raymond. He played for Trinidad in them days around. In fact, he claims that he was the person who introduced the whole concept of CFU, getting the islands to come together and form that association. He is an architect. He lives in New York, but he comes to Trinidad regularly. And so we decided we'll use this technology, Skype, so he could join the meetings. I invited Dinanan Ramnarayan, whom you will probably know as well. He was the president of the West Indies Cricket Players Association. And that's the mix we look for, so that there's objectivity, and not one of those individuals has ever been subjected to question and fast as it pertains to integrity and honesty and so on. So they came together. I gave them a mandate. That is, I want you, gentlemen and lady, to form this committee and proceed to work on doing a new constitution. But I want to recommend that you do not confine what you're going to do to only Trinidad. So get the British FA, get the German FA, get the Mexico FA. Look at all the countries that have their constitutions and see what you could put together and tailor-make to suit our Trinidad. They embarked on that, and after 18 months, it was drafted, toing and froing between FIFA and here, and until the document reached a place where FIFA decided to come down here because they were satisfied the draft was good. They came down here and they did some sessions, and we went through each and every clause in that constitution, 85 clauses, and we tweaked and fixed and so on. The finished product, using their words, was one of the best constitutions in the 209 member associations.
Okay.
And they went as far as to say, it is hoped that someday in the future, that even FIFA and CONCACAF could emulate some of the things in that constitution.
Right.
Okay? And as fate would have it, when the things happen with FIFA and CONCACAF, some of the things are there that they are putting in place for their reformation of their constitution, right? So that work went on in the back room. But we also had to keep the chalice burning, right? So we had to get games, we had to hire a coach, and you know what the thing with Hart, we still had to try to attract games on the outside because here, you're not getting the gates here, so it doesn't make sense. In the gates, to take care of costs.
Nobody coming out, so that's
right,
what we're trying to do.
That's right.
Get the love back into football.
Good. And we started off, we went far as Romania, we went and what's the other place?
To Finland, Romania.
Finland, right.
Yeah.
Finland, and we went all those places. And because my thing was, if it's a product, the product cannot be, we were now number 10 or 11 in CONCACAF, and low in the pecking order in CFU. I say, what the hell? Trinidad is so low in the order in CFU. That is St. Vincent, Grenada, and Guyana, and all those places, right? And I said, no, we have to come up to the top. And that was our ambition. We got the coach that I thought had met the requirements to take us there. That is Mr. Hart, who people did not know. There was a lot of talk, and I get plenty licks for Hart, because the way get this white man from.
But he shut him up.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Only to learn that after all the people were saying the thing. He played Trinidad football at a high level. He left here at the age 23, 24. Yeah. He went to university. He started to do coaching while in university in Canada. He was good enough for them to have appointed him like technical director and coach. He had a good track record in Mexico and Guatemala and those Central American countries. Countries who we found difficulty in drawing with or winning. And you know what? We said, this is the man.
But why don't we put that out there for everybody to know so they don't chastise us? Like if we had said the whole background, like you just spoke about Hart, they might have accepted him with warm and open arms.
You know,
but they think it's just a guy you just grab from Canada and drop him in the thing.
No, but you know why? Because people Trinidad do like to read, but you know that. They have always said, if you want to keep a secret, put it in a book and get Trinidad in the book. He doesn't like to read because those things have been shared publicly, yes.
Quite a bit.
Publicly.
Yeah.
And so I say, okay, we take our licks and so on, and then Hart started to perform and in his own quiet way, you know. And then you started to hear noise reducing and diminishing. Well, now there's no noise. Okay? But that was a bold step we had to make. And not only that, we had a challenge of paying him salaries. And because he is a Trinity to his marrow, down to his marrow, as he says, he was prepared to take the risk of working here and not guaranteed a cent in remuneration. Okay? So that's the kind of person we're looking for. The person who loves the game, who loves the game enough, that is prepared to give up himself without remuneration, with a family in Canada. Huh?
That has a good and a bad to it. I'll tell you why I say that, Sheldon, too. Because that group of people we recycle over and over, because I heard people talk about certain group that we have in our coaches,
Yeah.
and they continue to do not so good a job on many, many occasions, but we still keep bringing them back.
Yeah.
So it's either we have to put in place something like a training facility or for coaches, or we have a system where you don't perform to the level we need, you have to exit and we have to rotate and bring some more people in. What do you think?
Yeah,
Well,
no,
you'll be seeing a lot of that.
Mhm.
You'll be seeing a lot of that.
Okay.
Because we are putting, institutionalizing things that would take us there.
Right.
And we anticipate more leaks. Because, the mosquito doesn't burn me anymore. I get
No.
enough leaks.
Well,
Right?
hear what?
Yeah.
You don't have to get leaks, because you see this show,
Yeah.
Field of Dreams, our job is going to be to educate the public and let them know all the good stuff that everybody's been doing to try to bring this together. So you can come anytime on this show, and we can tell them, hey, this is what we plan to do for the next 6 months.
See,
Open invitation.
you know what? We had, while we were getting a lot of leaks from a lot of naysayers and all those who boast of being a coach for all those years, I'm a businessman. Here what I determine, or I come to my conclusions by figures, facts, statistics.
Right.
So I say, you know what? We are going to run some statistics. Had some research done of all the coaches going back to the 50s with their entire tenure and their successes. You know who's the best coach in Trinidad?
Who was the best?
Mohamed Issa was the best coach according to the international games he played, the length of time he stayed, the amount of games he won and drew, as compared to other coaches.
How would that compare to Kenny Joseph? I thought we had this discussion as a group in Side of the Road Talk,
Yeah.
and Kenny Joseph came up big.
I know. Kenny's big. Yeah. Kenny is big, but Issa was a little bigger than he was, and not only in height.
So
Yeah,
Issa's statistic
Issa, statistically,
outlast everybody else.
yes, everybody
Really?
else, yes. And so I put it in the papers, and then I was up here and much noise.
Sheldon.
You know, as the president just mentioned, you know, we early on we made some very bold, very very important decisions, and anything that you make as far as that a bold decision is concerned, you're going to get flack for. But we knew that Coach Hart was the right person for the job, and the timing couldn't be better. The evidence suggested that, his temperament, his knowledge of the game, and even more importantly, if you recall, we brought in Leo Binhacker at the same time to help us out. And one of the things I think that really tipped the decision was Mr. Binhacker actually called Coach Hart, because we mentioned that we're thinking about going in this direction. So he said, let me speak with the young man. And he called me back about 2 hours later. He said, Sheldon, that man knows his football. So once he said that, we knew that we were on the right track.
You know, from the ground, I'm talking from what I hear people say.
Yeah.
And the Binhacker thing, a lot of people say is, we bring in these foreign coaches and we pay them all the money. That's the first thing here, right?
Yeah.
And we don't look at the locals, or if we do bring the locals in, we don't pay them, and all that. So the people, especially the people from my era,
Yeah.
and so on, who think they should be a part of this, they think they're getting left out with the foreigners. So how you answer to that?
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, but I can answer that. When you are selecting a coach, whether it is in academia, sport, nursing, whatever, you have to look at the person's CV. Of all the coaches we have in Trinidad, there may be 2 or 3 coaches who invest in themselves. Mohamed Issa is one.
Anton Cornel is one.
Anton, sure, right? And Alvin, his father, would have been one of those. But many of those coaches have never spent a cent. They get a little thing here from TTFA, and the exposure is limited. Their world is very small. Their world is confined to Trinidad. When you bring a foreign coach, you live on the outside, and you know what I'm talking about in terms of facilities and opportunities. When you bring a man who has been exposed to those opportunities and facilities, and you treat at FIFA and say, you know, we are looking at this man, what do you think? They say, bingo, good man, this is his profile, so on, so on, so on. So he's among our best coaches in Europe, or one of the best in England, or whatever, right? It's not a matter of just picking a man.
So FIFA got to approve our coaches?
Yeah,
No.
then they don't have to.
Okay.
But it makes sense to go to them to say, well, there may be things you have on his file that we may not know.
Right.
Right? And you get information. So if you were not selected, do some homework. Stop just saying,
Right.
Look, I heard a coach say, we were inviting coaches to we felt like more like a refresher courses. And a coach say, he don't need that. He says, I've been coaching all my life. I don't need no class on the way to tell me how to coach. That is the kind of 3rd, 4th, and 5th thinking, right?
That's arrogance, though.
Yeah, it is. That is, you call them the unconscious incompetent.
Yes.
Their little world, they feel is the whole world, and it's not. But the thing about paying foreign coaches and not the locals, that is true too. Because as a people, we really don't respect ourselves in many regards. And therefore, we could look at this current situation. The Minister of Sport, who was a player, and who fought for players' fees and stipends, the first thing he wanted to do, and that is what caused the problem with he and I, was to cut players' fees in half.
You can't do that.
But then we couldn't do that.
Right.
And he said, well, that is my decision. You know, half of the fees. I say, but that has never happened before.
Yeah.
I say, and what disturbing about you is, you were a man who used to fight for fees for you and other players.
Right.
You fought right down. And the first time you get in a position to assist in a situation like that, you went in the opposite direction. And if you do that, you'll be the worst coach, the worst minister of sport ever.
Right.
He said, well, he could deal with that, and his shoulders broad and that kind of stuff. But I'm saying so in the context of what we were saying, about respect. He came from the same industry. He used to campaign for these players for money. Now he's in a position. Indeed, his government had approved the money for the players, all of it. And he wants to get them half.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that comes back to what I'm saying in terms of respect. Okay? Yeah.
Let me hold it for a second. Lots more to come. Let's take a break. We come back and you'll pick up where you left off.
Sure.
And I also want to talk about things that we can do to get sponsors back or people, so we can be self-sufficient organizations. So we don't have to depend on ministers.
We talk about that.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing ways in which we can bridge the gap and get things running again, back to what we know it to be. Timki, you were talking, and I'll let you continue.
Okay, but I think we could probably shift a bit into what we perceive as the way forward,
Right.
to change the complexion of what football has been
Okay.
in the past. One of the things that one of the rude awakenings you are going to experience is the fact that dependency has its hazards. In football, I think it is a lot more pronounced there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times you get the impression that you have to beg. So when I talk about dignity and so on, that we are not going to give up our dignity, is because the impression that was given was that, look, you come to me for money, you got to beg for it, and I am saying no. And of course, that will create a little problem. But back to that Reform Commission, what we did was, quite apart from just the Constitution, in the Constitution we spoke of restructuring the way business is done. And one of the major things is to have more clubs involved in decision making as far as running the business of football is concerned.
Right.
Okay? Now we have about 55 with all the delegates.
Well, we have 49 delegates in total. We have 18 with the clubs between the Pro League and the Super League.
Yeah.
We have 18 delegates with the regional associations, and then another 13 delegates with the interest groups,
Youth
associations,
football.
the youth football and development groups.
Women football, everything, yes. So now they are the ones who are going to decide who they want to represent on the executive.
But how are they selected? Those delegates that we have, they're
Now or in future?
No, the ones we have now,
Yes.
that you just described.
Right.
Yeah, how they came on board.
Well, they would be selected through their various member associations. So, for instance, the SSFL,
Right.
they would have their own, Congress's annual general meetings, and from those meetings, they would select the delegates to represent their body at the General Congress for the TTFA.
Okay, they represent their leagues.
Correct.
The SFA, the Sportsman League. Okay.
Yeah. So with those structures in place, and emphasis on good governance and transparency and accountability, those are the pillars that we are building this thing on. Okay, the pillars that have not been observed or were not observed, hence the reason for our getting in the position we got into. And if the first time you did it and you didn't learn from it, then you're a fool. And we have decided that, okay, let's change the direction, which we have done. So now it's a matter of deculturizing to a large extent people who are culturized in a certain way. And so it's not unusual to hear chit-chats by some who should know better, but they say negative things. They were very much part of the, say the old dispensation. And I'm not saying that in a negative sense, but just to tell you where that thinking came from. So we see it as a challenge, but we are pursuing our goal relentlessly, unswervingly, keeping our eyes on the ball, and ensuring that we go forward. We expect to get some licks, as I say. People will want to undermine the process, but we're going to keep focus on that. And therefore, with the new constitution, we are launching a website next week, which is awesome. You will see it when it comes out. And dissemination of information of all the goings on in football will be right on that site. So what we are doing now, you could go on the website and get the same information. Okay?
Right.
We're going to have on that, we're going to have the constitution, we're going to have a lot of the things we do will be put there. We have things on individual players, profiling players and profiling teams, and all the other activities in training and development. quite apart from having daily news, football news on that website.
Right.
Very importantly, on that website would be commercial activity.
Right.
We'll be selling kits to the diaspora. Okay.
Good idea.
We are just tying up the agreement with PayPal, so people could use their credit cards, order things off the net, and get them delivered at the door as if you're in the United States.
Good idea.
Huh?
You guys go, yes? Go
In
international.
addition to that, next week we will be putting on the street a mobile store. The store is all wrapped with football things, football and Soca Warriors sing, with
Good
our
idea.
star players, and you know the normal thing when wrapping a vehicle, with our logos.
You bring all of that, right? You brought all that.
Well, we worked together. That was
Alright.
part of the part of our overall commercial
He
development.
a little Yankee, but he was very Trinidad in the foundation. So he built on the Trinidadianese, right? And that mobile store, we'll be visiting things like venues where sporting events, not necessarily football, sporting events, because people like sport.
Right.
So they could access kits and replicas from that mobile store. I could see that on a Saturday morning or a Friday evening, for that matter, come down Frederick Street, that Mercedes-Benz store just rolling down Frederick Street and pulling aside and people coming to purchase.
Good.
You know, I can see those things. And very importantly as well, as the website gets a little more active, we expect to have advertising on it.
Right.
So corporations and companies will use the site to advertise their product. And of course, that has its own costs.
Well, we gotta win corporate America back, and all it is getting the confidence back in us.
That's right.
So we have anything aligned. What we have aligned to make sure corporate America trusts us
Yeah.
and says, "I am willing to put $10 million into your product because I trust you, and I think you guys are on the right track."
Before we left here, we had a conversation with a gentleman whose name shall not be called.
Okay.
He's international. And one of the things I told him is that some
Did I
of
s-
those international commercial organizations, I would want him on our behalf to do some recommendations and promotions for Trinidad and Tobago, so that some of those people could do some sponsorship for Trinidad.
Right.
Okay, and he was gung-ho about that, and he says, and I believe him because he's a man I trust, you're going to get some traction from that initiative. And so we are looking as well at our broadcast rights, Mr. Philip. I don't know how many people know he's a lawyer as well.
Okay.
He is looking at options in terms of broadcast rights, you know, with these television stations and radio stations, that
Right.
brings in money.
Right.
Unfortunately, in Trinidad, our population is not big enough to attract the kind of responses that could take care of our costs. And therefore, we are looking at having a lot of our games in North America and even Europe with an agreement to share the cost, the monies from the gates. Europe is 10-1, US is 6-1, okay?
Right.
So we are looking at those directions, all with a view of getting some independence, having these resources so we can be independent, so we don't have to beg anybody.
I like the path we're taking, man.
Yeah.
That is the path we need to take
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
to make it happen. We got to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And then we don't have anybody to tell us about their money and
Yes.
whose money it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's you know,
Yeah.
make our own and we move forward.
Sure.
No,
Yeah?
absolutely. Well, you know, when we came in, you know, and part of it is building up and diversifying our revenue streams.
Right.
You know, so when we came in, there were essentially two revenue streams. Well, actually, you know, by the time I came on board, Mr. Timke was able to, you know, reactivate the stream of government support that was cut off.
Right.
You know, before. So we had basically government support and FIFA/CONCACAF. So what we have to do is, access a commercial development program. This is where the income generation program comes into play, and building up our intellectual property rights establishing IP rights through licensing and merchandising, and that's the point of sales being the website and the mobile store, establishing retail partners to ensure that people have access to the goods. Certainly, from the standpoint of you had mentioned, what can we do as a footballing population, a football family, to help bring back corporate TNT? Well, we have 350,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago that are both directly and indirectly involved in the game. One of the things that could be done is the development of brand loyalty. For instance, let me give you NASCAR.
Right.
If you are a fan of a particular driver and that driver has Tide as their sponsor, you're not going to buy Cheer. You're going to buy Tide.
Right.
So if there is a company that is involved with football, is a very big backer of football, it will behoove you as a football person who would like to see the sport grow and continue to thrive to support that company. And so I think what we have to do is develop that awareness, that consumer education to show that we have some bargaining power as a football family. But the commercial development part is extremely important in order for us to be able to diversify our revenue streams. There are traditionally about 10 revenue streams that are involved with in sports marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've really only tapped about 2. So we're very much on our way in making sure that we maximize all 10 areas.
We are breaking new grounds, man. Virgin territory. We've never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
You're born too early.
Huh?
You're born too early.
I know. I would have been in millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
I know. It didn't happen for me, but that's all
Yeah.
right. I want to talk to you guys about some leagues. The leagues we have. We have the Super League is on the TTFA.
Yeah.
And all the zones. That's it? That's all we have,
FA,
right?
FA,
And the FA.
and Super League. And Super League, there are 2 segments. You have the Premiership and you have the Championship.
Well, there's two separate groups now.
We just introduced it.
Just introduce it. You didn't even let me know that. I want to get my team into it. But that's okay.
Yeah.
So now we have 2 zones. That's good.
Yeah.
So now they can fight for up and down.
Precisely.
supremacy.
Promotion, relegation.
You part of this team or what?
You guys are looking good, but all the things that we were talking, we should happen.
Yeah.
That I see is happening.
Yes, absolutely.
And people still out there saying that should happen, and they don't know it's happening.
Right.
So that's why we need to get that out there.
Yeah.
And they're also talking about going back to restructuring. What you guys think about restructuring and going back to community football?
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And nobody knows that you're doing that. That's what I'm talking about, Raymond.
Yeah.
The people needs to know. So we need to get this out to the people so they can know what we're doing. We can't do, and then they see nothing happening. And
But at the same time, Steve, you would know that the doses have to be given
little. Okay.
Because if you put too much out there, a lot of things will be lost. So a little.
So we can say this is our objective, our goal for this year.
Yeah.
Or for the next 5 years. And we're gonna accomplish this in the first year and this in the second year.
Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely.
And let us go that way.
Precisely.
Because I'm on board with you guys. I like what I'm hearing, and you guys take some unjust beating up that I don't think is fair.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get the trust in the people, the sponsors, the corporate everybody, to come back on board with us and let us try to move forward in a harmonious way. Let's talk about staffing. We kind of talked about that, and the staffing is pretty much on the coaches, right? And you guys already said there's a new structure coming with your coaching. You probably don't want to put that out there yet.
All right. Okay. Let's start from the top. We know in this country somebody who may have played football or may have been a physical education teacher recognizes that there are opportunities in football. Get some cones, put on a track pants, put on a track shoes, a jersey with a number and somebody's name written on it, and start advertising for a coaching school. Put on the fancy cones and so on and so on. And all they are doing is damaging people's children because they don't understand the various types of stretches, the physiology, and they go about and coach what they think they know. That will be a thing of the past. Everybody who wants to have a coaching school must obtain a coaching license.
Right.
Okay? Now, it is not a police state. So if a man goes to the savannah and starts a thing, nobody could lock him up for that. But you know what? We have a responsibility to make public statements that tell parents, if you want your child to go to a coaching school, the coach must be able to display his coaching badge to certify that he has been coached and is qualified. If you do run the risk of having a child go without checking that and the coach is not qualified, you risk your child getting injured when he should not have. Okay? So it's up to you. You're free. You're in a free country. You want to carry them to that school, but you cannot say you don't know.
Right.
And we would even consider having like accreditation, the coach license on his chest for every session he does. So, I mean, we could drive around and observe, and our coaching department could observe whoever the principals would be, and ask, you know, what the badge, see if it's a C class, B or A badge, and so on, you know. And that is going to provoke a kind of interest and seriousness in the whole coaching fraternity, even with the parents of the children. So that's one of the things we want to do. Another thing we are putting a program in place that would highlight the various levels of coaching. That we're going to have people coming from Europe, you know, the European coaching license, to come and give license. So then you could know, you could diarize that I'll be going to a coaching session for my C class now in September, because we have a program.
Right.
Okay? And we expect, well, I don't want to go there. That has to do with coaching. I don't want to talk much about that. But we are ensuring that coaches are coaches based on qualification, not talk. Okay? And apart from that, we want to also have, as I told, in fact, we have told Mr. Hart about trying to sit with us and put on a program. Program meaning the systems that we want to work with. So that when a player graduates from under 19 or under 20, he could fall in if a man in 23 gets injured and he understands the system.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is one model. And I could never forget Gali Cummins saying that. That's one of the most profound things I heard Gali say. He said a lot of profound things, but that was one in particular which stands out for me because it's uniformity, it's continuity, right? And you must be to fall in and fit in and continue movement.
Exactly.
You know? And so that's one of the things we are going to consider. And not let every coach say, well, do this, and another coach says, I mean, do something, and confuse the poor child. And when he gets up there, it's a sort of confusion.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things we have, you know, in our vision. And it's more than a vision because those things have been decided upon. It's a matter of implementation as time progresses.
Right. Sounds good. I mean, all the things I'm hearing from you guys today is the things that I thought in my mind that we should be doing, and you guys haven't done. It's just a matter of getting out there and let people know, because people don't know. And people feel that you're just sitting there and asking the government to finance everything that you guys do, and don't understand how much you guys do. And it's unfair. So you guys need to do this. There's a lot we need to talk about. We run out of time. but there's a lot more we need to talk about. So I gotta have you guys back, man.
I'd love to come back.
And another, yeah, so we can talk about the national team, where we go forward,
Right.
what we plan to do, because the Gold Cup, we just hit the Gold Cup and we did excellent in this Gold Cup. So how do we move forward from here? We can't go backward.
Would you believe? Would you believe? I'm going to say a senior football official, but let me not say senior. Senior could mean age, okay, and not necessarily understanding expertise. Who's chastise us because we could take our team at a certain level, and they don't know how to go beyond the quarterfinal. You believe that?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
embarrassing.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Embarrassing.
And I've been saying, in our history in this country, since the introduction of the Gold Cup tournament, Trinidad has reached the quarterfinal on 3 occasions.
Right.
One with Buttel St. Clair a few years ago. And 2013 and 2015, we have performed well, and we reached the quarterfinal. Okay? But somebody could find time
To say something.
to come out and say,
That.
and try to condemn this administration, because we have not been able to take the players, the team higher than quarterfinals. You know, Steve? You could imagine Trinidad never used to be able to come back. When you're 1 down or 2 down, that's it.
That's it.
Now we come from 4 from Mexico and draw Mexico.
Yeah. We've done that.
And we have been scoring goals.
Yeah. When was the last
After
time
your
somebody-
era
Yeah.
and Gali era and that era, we stopped scoring goals.
scoring
You know
goals,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Now we score goals.
Yeah. When was the last time that somebody scored 4 goals on Mexico?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so but it goes back to to the whole issue of resources and what we need. You really have to look at this whole thing objectively. When we compete against teams like Mexico, the U.S., even Costa Rica, we're competing against associations and programs that are full-time programs.
Right.
Because of our our funding situation, we're essentially part-time.
Yeah.
And we're still able to go head and head with those teams and stay on the field with them. The United States, their annual budget, the U.S. soccer, is $100 million US. Mexico is $150 million US. So I mean, we're really boxing above
And we are
our
5.
weight.
We are 5 million, and we
Yeah.
fight for it.
Right.
5.
So once based upon what we've been able to do with what we have
Yeah,
access to
yeah,
now,
yeah.
you can only imagine if you just give us a fighting chance.
Right.
Not only our senior men's national team, but all of our national teams, from the senior women's national team that's ranked 44 in the world to all of our youth national teams, our futsal national team, our beach soccer national team will consistently perform if they have the right amount of resources and support behind them.
I definitely need to have you guys back, but before we close here, talk to Trinidad, talk to Trinidad, and tell them anything you want to say to bring them on board with us. Anything you want to talk to the country or the corporate TNT.
Well, I want Trinidad to understand the importance football plays in the lives of our people, not only from a spectator standpoint, but in terms of the development of the human being. Because in football, your children are taught discipline, because they are taught punctuality, they are taught regularity, they are taught to develop the spirit of give and take, because they have to learn to win as well as lose, understanding that losing is a part of the plan or part of the game. And therefore it assists a healthy body generally is accompanied by a healthy mind. And football is one of those disciplines and sport, if you like, that would, at the end of the day, form your child into a total, respectable human being. And therefore, I wish all the parents and all the corporate citizens could understand that there's a social responsibility to develop our country, and we should understand that we should stop looking at what our country could do first, but rather what we can do for our country.
Thank you. Sheldon, you have anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, our main focus is as we go into the Road to Russia campaign. Our first set of matches are going to be in November. Before November, we'll be heading into a series of friendly matches, and we want the public to come and rally around our Warriors. Not only the senior men's national team, but the women's senior team. They're getting ready to go into a series of Olympic qualifiers. Our U17 team is getting ready to go into the first stage of CFU competitions. And how do you rally around the Warriors? Well, you create a buzz. You call the TV stations when the teams are playing and demand those games to be televised. You come out and, when the team plays in the country, when we bring down all of our players, come out and watch the games. The full stands really mean a lot to the players. Come out and purchase the merchandise and help us become more self-sufficient. I think the TTFA it represents football for the entire country. We can't do it by ourselves. We need all hands on deck in order for us to move forward. And I think once we are able to do that, and everybody is on board, the sky's the limit with all of our national teams.
Okay, we've come to the end of another edition of Field of Dreams on Axe Television Network. I want to thank Axe Television Network for giving us the opportunity to bring this to our viewers. I want to thank our viewers for allowing us to bring this to you, and we hope you guys enjoy this show. Special thanks to my good pal, Raymond Timke. I thank you so much for being here. Sheldon, I thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys, man, and thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
To the viewers, you can always check us out on Facebook. We have an account on Facebook. You can go there, check us out, and drop us a line. You can also check us out on fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. The show has ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. Good night. I'll see you next week.